Hey guys, Gamer Joe Coffee here. Grab yourself a fresh cup, get comfy, and today we're diving into one of the biggest updates that's been added to Palia, ranching. Today we're going to dig in deep from Pekis to Ormuus, from feeding to petting to raising to breeding to stats to just everything we can think to cover. We're going to cover it all and kind of give you guys an all-encompassing guide on what I've learned and what things I've seen since I've started playing with this. I'll walk you everything from raising to breeding to treats and to making the most out of your barn. So let's jump into it. So first things first, unlocking your ranch. Delilah will show up to your house. She'll have a little chat with you. She'll want to talk with you about your ranch. And she will help you walk you through the first initial steps, the first initial quest to unlocking your barn, as well as give you the barn bell. The barn bell is a useful little piece of equipment that you're going to use to transport from whichever home property you're on to the barn. You can craft multiple of these and put them on every plot, just like you can the teleport board, the stables board. From Elderwoods, so it is super helpful. Once you get there, she'll walk you through the basics, giving you a Pekis. She'll give you, tips on what things you can do and kind of walk you through some of the basics. There is also a book on the table near the entrance that gives you a lot more detail on things you can do and different stats and stuff like that. But she will walk you through some of the basics. And so I don't know if they plan on changing this, but for right now, your ranch is kind of like a rental. You can't really decorate it on your own. You can use it to raise the animals, but you can't really customize it or anything as far as I can tell yet. Once you've actually unlocked the animals, you'll start out with the Pekis, and you'll be able to once per day, real life day, basically, you'll be able to pet them and you'll be able to feed them as long as their focus is not full. And both of those will increase their happiness. Now, this is also dependent upon a number of variables, depending on your individual animal's stats. Some animals don't like being overfed, or they will lose happiness. Some animals like being fed fancy things. Some animals like being fed more common foods. Some animals lose happiness faster or slower, naturally, or depending on if they have the same type of animal with them or more diverse animals with them, or whether they have babies in the pens, or whether there's older animals. There's a lot of variety as to how each individual animal will retain its happiness and its focus. And each animal does have its own stats. Everything is very individualized for each animal, depending on which stats you've bred into them and which stats they do have. So as a general guide, once per day pet, that's locked in. Feed them until they're full, but do pay attention to their skills because those do affect how they react to different things and different food levels. So as I mentioned before, you do want to care for your animals. Your animals start out as babies, then they grow into young adults, then adults, and then elder, and then venerated. During this process, you have to keep them happy and fed. Feed gives a little bit of happiness, but petting also gives a bonus of happiness, as well as feeding various treats may boost some of those happinesses. The happier they are, the more they produce and the faster they produce food, or eggs, milk, honey, or mushrooms, depending on the animal. So you do have to keep them up to date. You do have to check on them regularly and make sure they're happy. But this is done on an almost daily basis, IRL, not really an in-game daily basis. So you're not punished for not being able to check on them literally all day long. I check on mine like once a day, make sure they're fed, we're good. So there are a bunch of animal treats you can feed them that give them bonuses. Some of them like fancier foods, like your epic foods, your rare foods, your uncommon foods. Some of them are more prone to crops like corns and tomatoes and more common stuff. So you do have to pay attention to the different stats on each animal and see what they might like to eat, because you do get bonuses or you do get punishment if you feed them something and they have a certain trait that requires something else. So do pay attention to those, but in general you can feed them crops off your garden, which is usually what I do. So next is the actual animals you will have. So you start with the Pekis. The Pekis cost 1,000 gold apiece, or once you get a couple adults you can breed them to create more. They produce eggs, and they do have a really low focus level. On a normal Peki it's 100, but it does kind of vary based on their traits. They do require moderate attention needs. The Trufflets produce mushrooms. They have a little more focus with moderate attention needs, and they cost you 1,500 gold. The Ormuus, the big boys, they produce milk. They're your cows. They have a high focus level, and they require a lot of attention to keep them happy, and they'll set you back 2,500 gold per Ormuus. And finally, you have Bumbles, the bumblebee, the honey producer. They have a low focus and require low happiness, and they cost you 1,200 gold. Each animal kind of has its own quirks, its own different requirements, its own different traits, but to me, a combination of them is rewarding and profitable. I like to have a mixture, as well as you are limited currently to 10 Pekis, 6 of the Ormuus, 8 of the Trufflets, and I believe it's 12 of the bees. When you go over that cap, you'll see it on your menu. When you go over that cap, you do receive less crop or less production from the animals. So you can have a barn full of bees, but they will produce honey slower. So your animals, as I mentioned before, can be bred. Each animal has its own unique traits, and those traits are complicated. Anything from graphical design changes of the animal itself. There are different colors, different patterns for the graphics. Some of them are shiny, some of them are inverted graphics, some of them are irradiated, or they all have their own weird styles and weird looks depending on the traits they have, as well as functional traits. They'll have things like mentor or mentee. Mentors are better if there are younger animals that they can get mentor. Mentees are better if there are older animals that they can lean on as a mentor. There is unique, which is a trait that gives a bonus to the one animal if he's the only one that has unique. But if there are multiple, then it hurts him. There is just various animal traits that increase speed of production, reduce the amount of happiness needed. That some animals are better when they're the only one of their species. Some animals are better when they're with a mixture of species. There is a wide variety of traits, and it's going to take time to learn them for sure. Some animals are better when they're young. Some animals are better when they're old. It really depends on the animal and the randomness of the traits that you gain when you breed them. It's not going to be a perfect game. You're not going to be able to just lock in on only the traits you want, but the cookies do help you focus in on what some of the important traits are and what some of the better traits are, and try to breed those better and better and better as you go. So speaking of treats, the animal system is super deep with the traits and the cookies. There are tons of cookies. So there is a ranch store that Delilah has, the guild store, that you have access to, and this does have a number of cookies. You also get cookies through trading in your animals that you no longer wish to have. I generally, now that I've reached level 10 and unlocked the weeklies, I'm generally going to wait until I receive venerated animals before I trade them in. I like to hold on to my animals, and it is costly to replace them if you trade them in too early. You do have to buy them back or breed them back, and that can become costly. So I am generally waiting until I get that venerated animal and they're done producing and done breeding, and then I'll start trading them in. Aside from the weekly quests, there are weekly accomplishments that require you to breed animals, so I'm going to probably keep rotating those for that. But aside from that, I'm going to try to grow them fully up to venerated before I do trade them in. So mentioning cookies, there are multiple tiers of cookies and there are multiple types of cookies. You'll see there are cookies like bad breed or fancy breed, or there are different types of cookies that have different effects on them. The fancy breed cookies allows that animal to pass along up to 3 traits for the common level, 4 for the uncommon, and 5 for the rare version. So there are multiple tiers of each cookie in general. So you may have like a happiness cookie. The common happiness cookie boosts happiness. Cool, done, easy. Now the uncommon one boosts a little bit more happiness, and the rare one boosts a little bit even more. So there are multiple tiers, and there are multiple various effects that each one has. You just kind of have to pay attention to the descriptions to kind of see what happens. There are various tiers of PAL snacks, which are ones that increase your animal's production bar and how fast they produce. So there is a lot of variety when it comes to that, and it's really complicated. Okay, the animal traits, the cookies, all of it is super, super, super complicated. My recommendation is that when it comes to the cookies, when it comes to the animal traits, try to figure them out one by one. Just don't get overloaded. It can be confusing. Focus on getting your animals. Focus on filling out your barn the way you want. Focus on learning the traits of the animals you have and crossbreeding them and kind of figuring things out, and then work on cookies and what each cookie does and kind of try them out one by one and kind of learn the system over time. It is a lot to learn. It is a big, expansive skill to figure out, and it does take a lot of time to pick it up, but it does take a lot of time to level as well. So you do have time. Take your time. Go through your cookies, figure out what they do one by one, learn your traits, what they do one by one. It is super, super, super hard to min-max this system, and it's just going to be something you're going to have to figure out over time as you go. So as you level up your skill, you do gain new things depending on your level. We're going to cover those real quick. Level 1, when you first start out, you get the barn bell, which is nice to go to your barn, and you can craft new ones to go to your barn from other house properties. Level 2, you unlock the Pekis. That's through your intro, you unlock the Pekis. Level 3, you gain access to the guild store. You gain access to some of the basic stuff. These are some really good cookies that you might need when you're first starting out. You get the name well cookie, which is nice to just change a pet's name if you want to, an animal's name to something, especially if you want to track them by name, which I tend to do sometimes. You get bad breed and fancy breed biscuits, which bad breed reduces the likelihood that it'll pass its traits on, and fancy breed increases the amount of traits it can pass. So those are really good when you're breeding. You have fast grow cookie, so if you're tired of waiting for some of your animals, or you've got all babies and you want to give them that boost, give them a little bit of fast grow cookie and it'll boost them. Now pay attention, because the fast grow does increase the rate at which the animal ages. That lasts forever. I have yet to see it drop off. So if you do increase the rate that they age, they will die off quicker as well. So be careful of that. Now on the other hand, there is the plain cookie. The plain cookie is super useful. So if you give someone a fast grow cookie because you want to get them from baby to adult so that way you can breed them or whatever, once they become an adult, drop a plain cookie on them and it will clear any active treat effects on that animal. The plain cookie is super handy just to clear all the cookies that you've given them if you don't need them anymore. So there are some useful stuff there. Level 4, you unlock the Trufflet. Now be careful, because you will receive a free Trufflet voucher from the family for this level, for level 4. Do not use it right away if you have filled out your barn with chickens. I did that. You can only have 10 chickens. You can only have 10 animals. You have all 10 chickens and your barn is full and you use that Trufflet token, you just lose it. You have to hold on to it until there's space for a Trufflet to reside. That being said, now level 5, after you gain the Trufflet, you gain 10 more slots. So I would hold on to that until the next level. If you haven't already cleared out some chickens, then you can use it and get the free Trufflet. The next level after that, level 6, you gain access to the Oopsie Cookie, the Never Grow, the Predictable, and the Me First. The Never Grow cookie to me is one that's it's one that's like, if you like your animals as a visual and you don't care about raising them as much, the Never Grow cookie is one that locks your animals into baby status. Let's say you have a really good animal that you might want to breed later, but you don't want to right now, or you have an animal that you like the looks of and you don't want to get rid of it. You just give them a Never Grow cookie and they'll stay a baby forever. That being said, you do still have the plain cookie that will clear that off. So if you do want to lock them in now and then maybe later unlock them, you can with the cookies. The Oopsie cookie allows you to remove a random trait from your animals. If your animal's got some good traits, some bad traits, you might want to try this to clear out some of the traits and try to lock in on those good ones only. You do have the predictable trait. This prevents your animals from randomly gaining new traits. So your animals may mutate and gain new traits as they grow up. This cookie locks them down and prevents them from doing it. Then there's the Me First cookie. The Me First cookie ensures that your animal's traits have priority for inheritance when breeding. So if you have one really, really, really good animal and one that's not so good, you can give the really good one a Me First cookie, and his traits will receive priority when you're breeding them together. Next, you will unlock Ormuus at level 7. Be careful, because at level 7, you do receive a free Ormuus token. But again, if your barn is full, and you can have, at this point, you're going to have 20 animals. If you have 10 chickens and 10 of the Trufflets and your barn is completely full, you will lose that Ormuus token if you use it. So make sure you're under 20 when you use that token. Again, as mentioned previously, the next level 8, you do unlock 10 more slots. So if you hold on to that token for one more level, you'll have up to 30 slots, and that is the max. You can have 30 animals at a time. That is a mixture of the chickens, the pigs, the cows, and the bees. Speaking of bees, level 9, the next level, you do unlock the bees. Now, I had mentioned before there's a cap on the animals on when they're beneficial or not as far as producing food. The chickens you can have 10 of before they start producing eggs slower. The pigs 8, the cows 6, and the bees are 12. So as a combined, that is greater than 32. So what you're going to have an issue, because you can have up to 32 or 30, but the cap is 32. So you're going to have to make a decision. Do you want more bees, less chickens, less bees, more chickens? You're going to have to balance those numbers somehow. But I would recommend you don't go over the soft cap for each animal. That way you don't lose the production of food either. And then finally, level 10. Level 10, you unlock the last round of cookies. All of these cookies are purchased with guild tokens, and you unlock the guild token system, the weekly quests, which are super, super nice. They don't really currently have any furniture or anything special that you can buy with the guild tokens. Right now, it's just the functional cookies that you can get, but you do have access to a lot more cookies once you do unlock this. You unlock the roulette cookie, which gives an animal a random single trait. It's kind of like them mutating, just like that. You get the trait treat, which gives them a single random functional trait. So this one specifies that it's a functional trait and not just a decorative trait, because the roulette cookie could be a decorative trait. Then you get the cookie of the day. This one gives them a random cosmetic decorative trait. It doesn't have an effect on the game, but it makes them look different. Then you have the tasty treat. This one's expensive. It costs 100 of your ranching medals, but it adds a random functional trait to your animal that scales with the number of cosmetic traits it has. That sounds confusing. Sounds super confusing. Let me quickly explain it. Let's say your animal has 3 cosmetic traits. So your animal's looks dirty, but he's also shiny, and he's also got like a color change. So he's got 3 cosmetic traits that make him look unique. If you give him the tasty treat, it adds a random functional trait that scales with those 3. You'll have 3 cosmetic traits, so that trait you get will be tier 3. You have 4 cosmetic traits, trait will be tier 4. 2, 2, 1, 1. So it scales with the number of cosmetic traits you have. So it's really, really good to use this on someone that has a lot of cosmetic traits. Next, you have the faster grow cookie. This is the improved version of the other grow cookie I mentioned before. This one greatly increases the rate at which your animal ages. In case, like I said, you want to boost them to that next level, and then maybe give them the plain cookie to clear that off. Then you have the fancier breed, which allows them to pass up to 4 traits. You have the worst breed, which significantly reduces the chance that they pass down that trait when they're bred. And then you get the reroll cookie. The reroll cookie is interesting. What it does is it randomizes the tier of every one of your animal's traits. Let's say you get a really, really good animal and you really like it, and it's got a lot of good traits on it. It's got a bit wide variety. Let's say it has like 5 good traits on it, but the traits are all tier 1 or tier 2. They're very basic, very low level tiers. You can buy this reroll cookie and drop it on them, and it will re-roll each of those tiers and maybe increase the tier of that trait. If you have a lot of low-level tiers, there's no harm in buying this re-roll cookie or using one you've gotten and turning it in, because that could increase your traits, and you're almost guaranteed that none of them are going to go down because they're all low. So if you're all level 1 traits and they're all really good, you just drop this on them, and the only way you can go from there is up. So it's kind of a random game, and you got to play with it and kind of learn it. It is very, very complicated, but also at the same time, you can kind of just take your time and enjoy it and not pay too much attention to the traits, and you can kind of succeed without having to bother with a lot of the complicated trait system. It does work normally, just very simply. And you don't really have to pay a lot of attention to the traits if you don't want to. But for those of us who like to min-max, there is a complicated system of min-maxing when it comes to breeding traits. So as I mentioned before, your animals will age over time. Your animals will go from a baby to a young adult to an adult to an elder, and then to a venerated animal. Now, each of these have their own unique effects on the other animals, or effects on their abilities. When you're a baby, you're not producing any eggs or milk or nothing. So the babies are just there to grow. You can feed them and keep them happy. They're doing nothing but growing. When they hit young adult, they can start producing items. Young adults are the ones that benefit from the mentee status. Once, young adults and adults, if there's an elder in the room, or there's I think a venerated counts as well. The younger ones benefit from having a mentee status because they benefit from having elder. Then you get regular adults, which is just a normal middle of the road. Then you get the elders, which elders can benefit from mentor status, because if an elder has a mentor skill, basically that means that any younger animals in the barn will boost his stats, his production, because he's mentoring them, and he gets that boost from being a mentor. And then finally, you have the venerated status. Venerated is much like the baby status. Venerated cannot produce any items, and they cannot breed. Neither can the babies. So your babies and your venerated cannot produce and cannot breed. What happens is when you get to venerated, either you leave them in the barn if you want to, because you like them, but they can't really do anything. There's 2 options you can do with them. There is a cookie that you can give them, which basically, I think it's called the Divine Donut, which basically turns them into a baby again and rebirths them as a baby. That way, if you really, 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 really like that animal, or you didn't get to breed enough with it if you wanted to, if you happen to have this cookie, you can use it to rebirth them as a baby again and let them grow up again. They'll be able to breed, produce items, all that all over again. On the other hand, if you're not that crazy about them and you're not wanting to use your Divine Donut on them, you can trade them in. In the ranching menu, in your inventory menu, when you're at your plot, there is a button on the left-hand side that's got a little trait cookie on it, and it has a progress bar underneath it. This shows what your progress is for your animal reaching the next tier of trait rarity. This is based firstly on your skills. The higher your animal's skills are and traits are, the better treats you're going to get for turning them in, as well as the percentage. The percentage determines what you get out of them. So if you have a animal that's at like 50%, you let him live for a little bit longer, that'll work its way up to 100. Once it reaches 100, you'll get a bonus for donating them beyond what they initially would have received if you had donated them before that bonus kicked in. So what happens is you click this button, you turn that animal in, that animal's sent to a farm somewhere away, and in return you're giving treat bags based on the rarity of their skills that you turned in, and I believe the tiers as well as whatever status you have gained through letting them grow up normally, and there's a cookie that'll boost that value as well. So there's a lot of different things that go into that. But if you let that bar go up to 100%, you do get the most out of that, and you could potentially put a cookie on it to boost that level as well. So once you turn them in, you do get treat bags. You can open those treat bags to get free random cookies. You can store those in your lockbox or your regular storage, but they do not take up space. They initially did take up space, and I was concerned about that, but the cookies do not take up space anymore. So personally, I store mine all in my lockbox. That way I have easy access to them, and they don't stack with, hide within other things. They're all in my lockbox, and they don't take up a bit of space. So it just keeps them separate on their own, and it's super, super, super handy. So once you reach level 10, as I mentioned, you unlock the weekly quests. So what are the weekly quests? The first one, Dinner is Served, is simple. Feed your animal a treat or food 20 times. So all you gotta do is feed them 20 times in 1 week. You unlock that. Super easy. The next one is breed 3 babies. So all you gotta do is go breed your animals 3 times. Doesn't matter if it's a chicken, a pig, a cow, doesn't matter. 3 breedings and you're good. You're locked in. The last one is collect items from the animals 10 times. So if you got a cow that produces milk, you collect it from them. That's 1. Do that 9 more times. You'll lock in that weekly quest. So they're not too bad. They're kind of stuff you'll do normally. And they do give you rancher's medals. But currently the only thing to do with those medals is buy more cookies for more breeding. So I wouldn't worry about collecting them because there's not really a whole lot you can do with them now unless you just really want some of those cookies to use to maximize your breeding skills. But it doesn't hurt to do them either because they might eventually release furniture or unique items that you can get from there. So lastly, I've got a few little tips and tricks I want to share. First off, if you are on PC, it's the H button. But when you're in your house and you do that top-down view, for us on PC, it's H to look down on the top of your house. When you're in your barn, if you hit this anywhere on the map in the barn property, it brings up your inventory. And in that inventory, you can trade in your animals. You can see which ones haven't been fed yet. You can look at all their different stats in that inventory window. And you can do it from anywhere in your property as long as you hit that overhead house button. There is a button on your individual animals. If you're in your inventory and you see an animal that you want to go, let's say you fed all your animals, but for some reason you missed one and you're going through the list, you're like, how did I miss that one? I don't even know where he is. If you click on that animal, there's a heart button at the top right of that little panel. You click on that and it shows you where they're at on the map. You can see on my game, I've got my favorite ones hearted and they're all highlighted on the map. They're all highlighted where they're at, and I can go easily track them down. These are generally my breeders. I currently have them hearted, but I'm not going to leave them hearted for long because I'm changing how I'm tracking my animals. But it is a useful way to find the ones you're looking for. As well as the hearts on the compass to track down some of your favorite animals, your new babies will show up on the compass. Your ones that have mutated will show up on the compass as well, because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe you need to go look at them to see what that mutated trait is. So there is that as well. There's a lot of little icons that appear on your compass that kind of show you where specific animals are and whether or not they need your attention. So that's pretty much it. There is an easy way to min-max your leveling quickly. In this ranching thing, it does cost you a pretty penny, and it is something I did to quickly get to level 10 so I could kind of experience it and share some of my information with you guys. But it did cost me a pretty penny. What you would do is you would keep a breeding set of animals. I kept 6 at the time before I got the bees. It was 2 cows, 2 pigs, 2 sheep. 2 cows, 2 pigs, 2 Pekis. Oh, geez. I kept those as breeding, and I tagged them as favorite and renamed them so I didn't get rid of them. And then what I did is I would breed them every time I could. I would fill the rest of the open slots with animals that I bought from the store. And then once their new in town buff ran off, which takes an hour or two, something like that, I would go around, I'd pet them all, and then once that buff ran away, I would turn around and trade them in for cookies. Now that does cost you a pretty penny because you're having to buy the animals every time, but every hour you can trade them in and get new animals, and you get XP for petting them for free. So while it does cost you coins to buy the new animals, you do get a bunch of XP just from petting them. I don't recommend everyone try this because it is expensive, but it was a nice way for me to boost my way to level 10, so that way I could kind of see most things and kind of show you guys some things. It is super expensive though. I highly don't recommend using this unless you just really want to unlock the bees or unlock the weekly quests like in a flash. It does give you a little extra boost, but you'll get there naturally anyway as long as you check on your animals every day and take their products that they produce. So that's basically the complete guide. Whether you're trying to get eggs, milk, you're trying to chase the perfect traits through breeding and trying to min-max your breed, or you're just enjoying the barn and the animals and the cool little uniqueness that comes with it. Whether you're doing any of that, hopefully this video helped with some of the different things that are available through the system. There are some more smaller tips and stuff like that. There's so much to this system, so many traits and so many crazy things that it's hard to get into everything in one video. So I tried to make something that would help you guys at least get started and maybe explore it on your own, because that's really what it's going to take. It's going to be hard and it's going to be impossible to cover literally everything in a video when there's so many traits and so much variety to this system. It is not going to be easy to be something you can min-max, and it's something you're just going to have to try to enjoy as much as you can and just kind of roll with it as it comes and learn as you go. But if this video did help you in any way, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. That helps greatly. And I do try to keep these rolling out to kind of give some tips for both new people and old, because there's some stuff I learned personally that I learned recently that I should have known from the beginning, and it was like, wait, why didn't I know that? And so I'm trying to share some of those things, some of those different benefits and stuff like that to help new and old players as we all try to learn this game together. So if you did enjoy this and this did help, please like, subscribe, and if you have any comments, drop them below. If you have any questions, drop them below. If you have any tips, please drop them below as well. I'm still learning as we all are, but yeah. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it greatly. I hope to have another video out next week covering another system in Palia, maybe some more tips that you might not know and some that you might, who knows. But thank you guys very much. I hope you guys have an amazing day and an even better cup of coffee. See you guys next time. Thank you to all my YouTube members for your amazing support. It truly means the world and helps us keep this channel going. I really do appreciate it.